I have worked for the Forest Service for 6 years. I want to be clear about that upfront, because what I am about to tell you is the kind of thing that makes people assume you are new, or scared, or prone to misreading the woods. I am not any of those things. I know this forest the way you know your own neighborhood. The trails, the seasonal flooding, which campsites hold warmth in October, and which ones turn wet by nightfall. I know the sounds it makes at 3 in the morning versus the sounds it makes at 3 in the afternoon. They are different sounds. Everything in the dark is different. I have also, in 6 years, never once filed an incident report I could not explain. Until 7 weeks ago. My partner on trail coverage is a woman named Sasha Veit. She has been with the service for 11 years, and she does not startle. I have watched her step around a timber rattlesnake in the middle of a sentence and not lose her place. I tell you this because the first sign that something was wrong was not something I noticed. It was something I noticed about her. We were doing a standard loop check on the north section of the Allegheny, late September. The kind of morning where the fog sits low and the ground smells like wet copper. Sasha stopped on the trail without warning. Not to look at something. She just stopped, mid-stride, the way an animal stops when it hears a frequency humans cannot register. She stood there for 4 or 5 seconds. Then she said, very quietly, that she thought we should take the service road back instead of finishing the loop. I asked why. She said she did not know. She said it the way you say something when you know the reason but cannot find words that will not sound ridiculous. We took the service road. It took 40 minutes longer. She did not explain, and I did not push her. Not yet. 3 days later, I was alone on the same section. Routine equipment check. 2-hour job at most. The trail through the north section runs alongside a ridge before dropping into a creek bottom, and there is a stretch of maybe 300 yards where the canopy closes completely overhead, even in fall. Not dark, exactly, but the quality of light changes, like being inside something. The air in that stretch has a weight to it that the rest of the trail does not. In summer, it smells like standing water. In September, it smells like something older, soil and bark, and something I do not have a clean word for. Something the back of the nose knows before the thinking part of the brain catches up. That is where I heard it. Not a voice. I want to be careful here. It was not a voice. It was more like the shape of a voice, the rhythm and weight of speech, without any word I could identify. Low, unhurried, the cadence of someone making a statement rather than asking a question. It was coming from the east side of the trail, off the path, maybe 40 feet into the trees where the undergrowth was too dense to see more than a few feet in. I stopped walking and stood very still. The sound continued for somewhere between 20 and 30 seconds. Then it stopped. I stood there for another full minute. Nothing moved. No birds, which I should have registered earlier. The absence of birds in that section should have told me something before the sound ever started. I did not go into the trees. I want to be honest about that. Something in the structure of that sound told me not to. That is the part I have tried to explain to myself since, and cannot. There was no fear response exactly. It was more like a very deep instinct saying that going toward that sound was the wrong category of action. Not dangerous, wrong, like reaching for a door that should not be opened, not because of what is behind it, but because you are not supposed to know. I have spent time thinking about the difference between those two things. Danger is something you weigh. This was something else. A recognition. The way you recognize a smell from 20 years ago before you remember what it belongs to. Something in the structure of that sound already knew I was there. I did not need to go closer for it to have what it wanted. I finished the equipment check and went back to the station. I wrote up the shift log. I did not include what I heard. That evening I asked Sasha what had made her want to take the service road. She looked at her coffee for a moment. Then she said she had heard something in that section 2 weeks before I did. She said it had been following her on the trail for close to half a mile, not approaching, keeping pace. She had stopped 3 times, and it had stopped 3 times. When she sped up, it sped up. When she slowed, it slowed. She said the sound it made was the same pitch and cadence as her own voice, as if something had been listening to her long enough to learn the shape of how she spoke, and was now practicing. That is the part I have never been able to set down. She reported it internally. I looked up her report. It was logged as possible audio pareidolia, a known phenomenon in dense forest, where wind and water create patterns that the brain resolves into speech. The file was closed. I do not think it was wind. After Sasha's report, I started keeping a log of my own, dates and locations and what I heard and when. Over the following 4 weeks, I found 6 other staff members who had experienced the same thing in the same section of trail. None of them had filed it officially. They had all found their own private explanations. One thought it was hunters. One thought it was teenagers with a Bluetooth speaker. 2 of them had just decided not to think about it. All 6 described the same quality of sound, something that had learned the general weight of a human voice, but had not yet learned the content. The Park Service has closed the north section for what is being publicly described as erosion assessment. That is accurate. There is erosion. But that is not why it is closed. I cannot tell you what is out there. I genuinely do not know. What I can tell you is this: whatever it is, it listens before it speaks. It follows before it approaches. And in 7 weeks of incidents across 9 separate witnesses, not one person has seen it directly, only heard themselves. If you are planning to hike the North Allegheny Trail system, I am asking you not to do the section past the Second Creek crossing. Camp somewhere else. Pick a different trail. And if you hear something in the trees that sounds like it might be your own voice, do not stop walking. Do not answer it. I have been trying to determine what it is learning us for. I have not found a satisfying answer.